Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox recording here to answer one of the most commonly asked questions within the audio industry. Does the DAW that you use actually matter? Well, I'm here to tell you that quite simply, no, it does not matter what DAW you use. With the exception of a DAW like Harrison Mixbus, the DAW is modeled after an analog console. They all sound exactly the same, 100% transparent. So in other words, if you're using Pro Tools, Logic, Reaper, Cubase, Studio One, Digital Performer, it doesn't matter, it's just ones and zeros. Now here's the thing that really trips people up. Certain DAWs are more well known for specific things than others. So for example, I'm a Pro Tools guy, and Pro Tools is known as a virtual tape machine. The editing within Pro Tools is phenomenal. Whereas a DAW like Ableton Live is really geared towards hip hop and electronic music. But in reality, both Pro Tools and Ableton Live do the same things. You could record audio, you can edit audio, you can work with MIDI, you can edit MIDI. They both do the same things. Now yes, one program might be more efficient in one area than the other, but I've been doing this a long time, and there's one thing that I've learned throughout the years. They are all becoming more and more and more like one another. For example, when I started using Pro Tools, MIDI used to be terrible. It was very difficult to work with MIDI within Pro Tools. Also, Pro Tools didn't have offline bounce, which is pretty insane when you think about it. So in other words, if I had a 10-minute long song, if I had to bounce that down, I had to wait in real time 10 minutes for the song to bounce down. And lo and behold, after using Pro Tools for a few years, the MIDI got a lot better and they implemented offline bounce. If I were to have jumped ship from Pro Tools to something else, I would have regretted it a few years later. And that's my point here, is that when it comes to comparing DAWs, it is a never-ending rabbit hole. And believe me, do not waste your time falling down it. My biggest piece of advice to you would be to stick with whatever you're using right now. Whenever I'm in audio forums, one of the most common things I see people bring up is what DAW they should use or which DAW they should switch to. Now, as someone who's been doing this for 15 years, I could tell you when I have tried to switch in the past, the amount of time it took to relearn everything just wasn't worth it. I've been using Pro Tools again for 15 years. That's a long time. And I know it by the back of my hand, inside and out. If I were to all of a sudden completely switch to a program like Logic, it would take a long time to relearn everything. And again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because both Logic and Pro Tools do the same things. Now, with that being said, I just want to say this. I do use multiple DAWs, but not for the reasons that you might think. Now, Pro Tools is my main DAW for recording, editing, and mixing in the studio. When I'm working with a live band right there and I have to edit takes and get my mix done and get my master done, I'm using Pro Tools. But I also run a live sound company with my partner where we do fully mixed and mastered live audio with multicam video. And for that company, we do not use Pro Tools, we use Reaper. Simply because Reaper is super solid on all computers. You don't need to have a highly spec'd out computer to run Reaper. So in other words, in that case, I'm using Reaper simply as a tape machine to capture the audio. But when the audio is mixed, I switch it over to Pro Tools. Not because Reaper isn't great for mixing, but because I'm super comfortable and efficient with Pro Tools. Again, I've been using it for 15 years. And the same thing goes for Logic. I also use Logic, but not for mixing or mastering, but for converting sessions from Logic to Pro Tools. The reason why is so many younger bands these days that record at home use Logic. And a lot of times just getting them to export the tracks correctly is a never-ending battle. So I just bought Logic just so I can convert Logic sessions over to Pro Tools. So again, I do use multiple DAWs, but my main DAW by far is Pro Tools. Not because Pro Tools is the best DAW on the market, but because I know it well. So in closing, I just want to say this. If you're using a DAW and you're thinking about switching for some dumb reason, like, oh, the MIDI isn't that great, or you like the way another DAW looks, trust me, don't do it, it's not worth your time. You're gonna end up starting from scratch, spending a bunch of time relearning a new DAW, when at the end of the day, they're all becoming very much like each other. I see it happen more and more each year. As one DAW adds a feature, eventually another one adds that feature, and they're all just constantly in competition with one another because they all want your money. So with that being said, I'd love to hear your opinion. What DAW do you use? Have you thought about switching? Have you switched? Leave a comment in the comment section below and tell me your opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And do not forget to click the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload one of my weekly videos on all things metal and rock production. You can both like and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links are in the description below. And be sure to download my 5-step guide to better heavy mixes so you can achieve better results with the gear you have right now. There is a link to the free guide right below in this video's description. Till next time, happy mixing.